Hello everyone, welcome to today's episode of the Osasu Show. On today's program, we show you a documentary on the railway sector here in Nigeria. We'll be assessing where we were and where we are now and where we will be going thanks to the innovation and the vision of the President Muhammadu Buhari administration. Don't go anywhere, it promises to be a very enlightening documentary.
Railway transportation in Nigeria dates back to the 19th century when our first rails were constructed by the British colonial government in the year 1898. The British colonial masters constructed the Lagos Railway and the Barrow-Kano lines to open the region to commerce and to ease the movement of people and resources to and fro England. Subsequently, in October 1912, the amalgamation of the Lagos and the Barrow-Kano Railway by Frederick Lugard birthed a nationwide rail service. In 1955, the company metamorphosed into the Nigerian Railway Corporation, serving almost 42 million Nigerians with ease.
The history of Nigerian Railway Corporation is a very long one. It predates the Nigerian nation. It started in about 1893 or thereabout. That is over 100 years ago. About 130 years ago. And the Nigerian nation just celebrated 6 years of independence. So you can see the gap. It was a colonial construction, purposely for the movement of resources from the hinterland to the coastal areas where it could be shipped to Europe for the benefit of the industry, especially in the United Kingdom then.
The present railway infrastructure we have dates back to 1898 when the first line was constructed, and during the colonial days continued to be extension, from here and there until all the narrow gauge lines were constructed, totaling about 3,505 kilometers.
And one of the primary reasons for establishing the railway was to connect the hinterland to the seaport so that exports could be made. And exports include cocoa from the west, granite from the north, and also palm oil from the east. Nigeria was essentially divided into 3 regions, which later, much after independence, was divided into 4 regions. We had Midwest. So railway also followed that pattern. It connected Kano to Ibadan, Ibadan to Lagos. We had another track coming from the eastern belt of Nigeria, Maiduguri to Calabar. Calabar also had a seaport that was functional at the time. All of these were to connect, to move goods essentially, and more importantly, humans from one area to another. It was a major factor for integrating Nigerians. People could do days and hours in the rails, and it was a major factor for building unity in Nigeria. Just after the war, a lot of things changed in Nigeria. One of them was the face of railway.
After acquiring about 3,505 kilometer rail network over the years, there were changes in administrations and policy which led to the decay of the railway sector.
First was mismanagement on part of government. Government did not pay cursory attention to railway management. We had, railway was functional at colonial era to early independence, but the moment military men started showing their face in administration, not so much energy and concerns were put on railway, because railway is actually for the masses, it's for goods, it's to save our roads.
it's not only the railways. A lot of infrastructure suffered a lot of decay. You know, our level of maintenance and the patronage and the character, unfortunately, I don't want to use the word to say national character. Our character of nonchalance to public institutions and public infrastructure is part of it. You could see where is the railway? Why is NITEL? These were huge investments made in the colonial days. The airline is gone, NITEL is gone. Had it not been for this effort, the railways also would have been gone.
No budgetary provision for maintenance. I was in the system when 9 months of salary was not paid. At a time, various times, 3 months of salary not paid. Staff will go on strike and on their own return back. It was that bad.
Railway business is a very capital-intensive business. And the moment you starve railway of funding, it will go down the drain. And that was exactly what happened. You know, the funding wasn't forthcoming. I have said it now that it's a capital-intensive venture. The cost of a locomotive alone can do a lot of roads. So you can imagine. And as at that time, we had a lot of rolling stock. You know, but when you don't invest, you know, in taking care of this rolling stock, especially in terms of spare parts, they are bound to, deteriorate.
Apart from that, capitalists also maximize the fact that railway was going down, and they led the barrier of rail system because they want to maximize road. They want to put their trucks on the road. They want to decide what happens. The truth is that organizations that are not so powerful rely 100% for logistics of their goods. Those who are powerful could afford to put trucks on the road. So what you do if railway is not functional is that you become a monopoly of some sort. So when you ensure that what your competitor is using to breed, the lifeline of your competitor is off the hook, is off the way, and then you become a captain. So you see new people, new millionaires and billionaires emerging just after the death of railway.
For 50 years, Nigeria's railway sector paled in comparison to its African counterpart. Realizing the negative effect on the economy and standards of living, the Nigerian government saw it necessary to revive and modernize the railway system to meet its developmental aspirations. In the build-up to the return of a once vibrant railway sector, a 25-year strategic plan was formed in the year 2002. Its implementation did not commence until President Goodluck Jonathan took over. His administration saw to the restructuring of the Nigerian Railway Corporation, followed by the rehabilitation of the entire dilapidated 3,505 kilometers railway network covering the western, eastern, and northern lines. While work was underway, the President Muhammadu Buhari administration took over. Thankfully, this administration saw it wise to finish and then expand on pre-existing lines built by the previous administration.
During the 1999 to 2003 period, some thoughts came up again to resuscitate the railway lines, I think. I think the government then invited some Nigerians in diaspora and formed a committee to look at how we can modernize the rails. And I think they came up with a strategic plan, which now culminated into what we have now, the plan to construct the modern railway, standard gauge from Lagos to Kano. Another government came in and decided that it's too big to be taken at one go. So it was segmented into 6 segments that we can take at least 1 or 2 at a time and be able to complete it.
Governments from 1999 to 2020 have made one contribution or the other to railway growth in Nigeria. First was President Obasanjo, who envisioned it with a team. President Yar'Adua did a lot of work to ensure the execution. President Jonathan led the team to ensure that we had borrowing from China. And of course, the particularly Abuja-Kaduna rail system was to a percentage, a meaningful percentage done during his administration, and tracks were laid during his administration. President Obasanjo did not say, President Buhari did not say because he's not of PDP stocks, he's not going to see through. It's a president that said this is not for a political party, this is for Nigerians.
The modern history of Nigerian Railway, I would say Obasanjo started the modernization policy, put the papers, the documents down. Then, before Obasanjo did that, they had commenced Itabewari, but he then put a policy down. Then Goodluck commenced that of Abuja Kaduna, and then we took it over and completed Itabewari, and now we're almost completing Lagos Ibadan, and we want to commence Ibadan to Kano.
What we are seeing today as a modern railway in Nigeria did not just start today. You remember Vision 2020 and some of that strategic plans. So with the coming back of democracy, the plan started. And it has been, unfolding stage by stage till we got to where we are now. So I cannot say categorically it's this administration or that, but the democracy came back with a strategic plan for a good railway system in Nigeria.
Today, the functionality of railway transportation has eased movements of passengers and goods across the nation. For instance, the Abuja to Kaduna line conveys an average of 4,000 passengers daily. If maintained and other proposed lines are completed, Nigeria will return to days of its economic glory.
You don't measure the benefit of rail in terms of naira, copper, pounds, and shilling, dollar, cent. You measure it about impact it's going to have on the economy, because you can never quantify that value. It's just like giving your children good education. It's not because you want your children to pay you back, but because you want them to reason well and live well. The same thing with having infrastructure. And rail is a very critical infrastructure a country should have.
The economic growth in the country is heavy. The employment you will create, the crime you will reduce for creating that employment, for industrial development, for the fact that you provide logistics. Now, cargoes take about 14 days from Lagos to Kano. It's 8 hours. No customs, no traffic, no criminals, armed robbers. You won't sleep on the road. You won't pay hotel bills on the road. It's just 8 hours to 10 hours you're in Kano. Unlike 14 days, everybody's waiting. You ask, where is it now? They say you just get to Ijebode. Before it gets to Abuja, with the bad roads, and then you pass on from Abuja to Kaduna to Kano, and it takes you 14 days.
Railway attracts development. Anywhere there is a railway station, you see development moving towards that place. Read the history of the mega cities in Nigeria. Enugu, where I grew up, for instance. By the time railway was established in Enugu, it was the only government infrastructure on that axis. But if you go today, the railway environment is a cluster of business. Same, if you go to Rigasa now, for instance, our station in Rigasa, before now it was a dead end. But with the advent of railway operations on that axis, go there and see buildings springing up, economic activities, park around the place, estates, all over.
That is what rail can do. It helps you to build a city. It helps light to radiate to the darkest parts of the world. And I truly believe that at least on an annual basis, Nigeria will start having additional 1 million jobs. Recall that in 2019, World Bank had reported that Nigeria created in 2018 only 400,000 jobs for private and public sector together. Meanwhile, in 2017, Nigeria lost 800,000 jobs. So job created in 2018 is not even enough to bridge the gap of what we had in 2017. The sad news was not what happened in 2017 and 18. The sad news was that in 2019, 9 million people joined the unemployment bracket, according to World Bank report. Then what do we need? Do we continue to use the current means of transportation? or we change it and give us what guarantees job creation, not just as people who want to work with Nigerian Railway Corporation, but small businesses that want to trade, small industry that will develop because they now know that their goods will not necessarily disappear because of accident, because of robbers and hijackers on the road, but they are certain of supply chain, because with rail, you can be guaranteed of the future.
Meanwhile, the Minister of Transportation, Chibuike Rotimi Amechi, continues to strategize on ways to expand access to the railway lines to every Nigerian. During the inspection of the Lagos-Ibadan line, the minister spoke on his concerted efforts and how he intends to accomplish this.
By the end of the 4 years, if we do have money, the president, I'm going to have that conversation with the president as he arrives this week. But I hope that I'll get an appointment to see the president next week. When we get to meet, we've met at the beginning of this year, and we've agreed that we should look at Port Harcourt, Maiduguri, and Lagos, Calabar. The Russians want to construct Lagos to Calabar. We're yet to meet. They've sent us some documents to complete and send back to them. Then we've already had a conversation with the Chinese firm that will do Port Harcourt to Maiduguri. So we hope that and believe that we can commence all that. We may not complete it before we leave office. Nobody knows that or remembers that for engineers that after 1 year plus, you must maintain 1/3 of the ballast. What is ballast? Those stones you see, you must separate them and replace them. But see, for 4, 5, 6 years, you'll be looking brand new, as if nothing. But you must change them. That's the requirement of railway. To the extent that I'm still the Minister for Transport, to the extent that there are resources, I would maintain them. When I leave office, you can ask me a question meant for the Minister for Transport. You wait for the new minister.
He was also accompanied by the Executive Governor of Oyo State, Oluseyi Makinde, who commended the efforts of the federal government, including the minister and other parties involved.
I believe with what we've seen, starting from Apapa Port and all the way through Ebute-Metta, it's been so far so good. A lot of work has been done. A lot still has to be done, but like I was telling the Honorable Minister, this monthly visit, to come and check what's going on, what progress has been made. I think it has the potential of putting pressure on the contractor and also pushing everybody towards the end of the project.
Although the government is working assiduously to make the railway accessible to every Nigerian, challenges regarding the completion of ongoing projects continue to persist.
The point is that the extra works will continue to come. For instance, there are so many crossings in Lagos that you have to put flyovers, so we're putting flyovers. If you don't put those flyovers, then there will be struggle between the railway or the trains and human traffic and car. And then there will be deaths, not from the railway, mostly by the human traffic and the cars. So in those areas, you're putting flyovers, they were not part of the cost. You're putting underpasses, you're putting overpasses, and all that they were not part of the cost. There's huge increase in land acquisition, which wasn't part of the cost. A lot of extra costs, which we were putting. That's how the Lagos Ibadan came from $1.6 billion to now $2 billion. The same happened in Abuja, and I've warned them. I hope it won't happen in Ibadan to Kano. I don't know why the engineers are not able to get us the actual cost at commencement. The argument is that as you construct, that's why they say when they design, they don't design as built. That it is when you start constructing that you design as built design. Whatever it is, I hope we'll manage it in such a way that we don't overshoot the cost.
I see a government and an administration represented by the Honorable Minister of Transport, who is pushing white men, wanting them to deliver at when due. But first, recall that larger proportion of rail project is on borrowing, and it comes with interest. So he is conscious of that and says, even if you're going to lend to us, let us get value for it, which is brilliant on one hand. On the other hand, I'm not sure we have the monitoring system or valuation of what Chinese have done for Nigeria. So funding, if Nigeria had this money, we might have spent almost the same thing Chinese people are spending for us, but the money would have been ready as at when due. Most of this track we are laying now will require time because we have narrow gauge. We are laying newly built standard gauge. As I speak to you, for Lagos Ibadan that I have been and I've observed over time, the standard gauge have been connected to Iju. Iju is in Lagos. It's very close to Agege, and you are still going to somewhere in Alagomeji, which is very close to the Railway National Office in Ebute Metta. It's actually in Ebute Metta. So most of the station is still ongoing and construction and so on and so forth. So two things. Time will heal any wound. Time will heal every wound. Nigeria will need a bit more of time for us not to rush in delivery, because if you rush delivery, you might still have to come back and spend a lot of time on maintenance.
With change comes reactions. The benefits of having a vibrant railway system is endless, from improved economic and security to comfort and stability. This is why the Nigerian people have welcomed this developmental stride with open arms amid many concerns.
The railway has been the first means of transport, as you may know. But when most of the transport systems came out, then we find out that there are people that have money carry trailers and other things and flood the road.
Looking at the projects going on, to me, it's a huge development to the nation, but it has affected us in some way. Like patronage of market has reduced due to the ongoing road construction.
No project like this that will not affect. Because when you start a project, before you will start enjoying it, there must be maybe demolition. When you look at this area now, you see that there is some area which go up and some area came down, which people cannot even cross the way they normally cross. But I believe what they will enjoy tomorrow, that is what is happening now.
The benefit of this railway is very high because first, after the conclusion of the railway, the Chinese company will have to manage it maybe for about 5 years or thereabout. So before giving back to Nigeria, we must have understand most of the issues going on within the railway. So it's a very welcome development to our economy.
As regards to the people selling market here, it affects us. But anything like this, it must pain us in the beginning. But at the end of the day, we all will enjoy it.
The road to the full-scale modernization of Nigeria's railway system is in full effect. Perhaps the biggest lesson to take away here is that we all have a role to play in the development of this nation. We cannot afford to shy away from the costs of maintaining these critical infrastructure. Therefore, the electorate must hold the elected accountable, and successive government can no longer afford to neglect policies and projects that benefit the masses and the country's economy.
Nigeria is getting it. It's better to start than not to do anything. That is why I'm thinking what we are doing right now should be celebrated, but we should not stop at this. We need to see how do we take beyond what we are doing now and compete generally in the world. I hope that we will not have to suffer what we suffered and get all our road dilapidated in horrible condition before we suddenly realize that even our fund, our oil money could not be real to us. We need to run to China for help.
Well, let's keep faith and let's support the government. I think the government has been doing very well from the time of the conception of this idea. Support the government, support us who are working for the government to ensure that we realize this. I also want to make an appeal. This is a public infrastructure. Some people who don't mean well are vandalizing what we have put in place. Removing the iron clips, removing sections of the rails, removing very important and vital components. We should not allow this to happen.
Evolution is taking place at a very fast rate. maybe in the next 10, 15 years, this kind of trends we are using here now may no longer be in vogue. You want us to remain there? We migrate. So there is a plan for that. It wasn't, again, it boils down to funding and political will. You can see the present government has sustained the tempo. If the next government comes in and says we are not interested in the railways, we are interested in this, it's nobody's making. It will be beyond the management of railways. But if the government sustains the tempo, investing in the railway sector the way it is doing now, I don't think anybody has any reason to fail in that sector.
That's it for today's program. Don't forget, you can watch extended clips from this documentary on our website, www.tostvnetwork.com. You can also read news on sustainable development and current affairs across Africa. And follow us on social media at The Osasu Show, at TOSTV Network, at Osasu Igbinedion on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I'll see you same time back in our studios in Abuja next week. And until then, take very good care of yourself.